Happy Friday, everyone. My name is Regina Lena, and I'm your host. Welcome to an episode of the Pageant Sit Down. We are live on another day, but you know what? It's a beautiful day, and I'm so excited for all of you to be here because I have a very amazing guest with us today. Not only is she a pageant contestant, but she is also a CEO of her own pageant system. So I want to welcome all of you to Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining, and thank you, Regine, for having me.
Thanks for joining. I purposely did not say your last name because I know I'm going to butcher it. So, Stephanie, for all of those who don't know you, you are the current Mrs. Galaxy Toronto 2021 and the
Yeah.
CEO of Glass Slipper. But besides that, who you
So, Stephanie Haidenschuster, and I'm a married mother to 4 children. I married my high school sweetheart, and this coming August is actually going to be 20 years that we've been married. But aside from that, I actually work as an educational resource worker, helping children with special needs, children that have autism, behavioral issues, as well as nonverbal and Down syndrome. So I'm very passionate when it comes to children and organizations that I work with, only because it allows me to further my community involvement because of what I do on an everyday basis. And I run beauty pageants, Glass Slipper Princess Pageants, since 2015. And I was able to start the pageant business, not only based on its beauty, but also to support children and their confidence building. And I felt that we needed more things to empower our youth so that way they can continue and be better at what they want to do to succeed in life as they get older.
That's amazing. So first off, what you're doing work that is super commendable, especially right now during the pandemic. I can only imagine how much support they really need at this time. When I first started high school, and it's a lot. So kudos to you for doing everything that you do because it's hard work.
It is, and you basically, how I see it, since I'm a mother, you kind of put yourself in a parent's shoes and how you would want your child to be treated when they are going to school, and to make sure that they're being treated fairly and inclusive, and that they get to show their ability regardless of the disability that they're facing.
And I'm sure it takes a lot of patience and a kind heart, and you definitely fit those check marks. So I'm sure those kids have a great role model to look at too.
Thank you.
But you also mentioned that you ran this pageant now for a few years. What made you want to run your own pageant?
What made me run my own pageant was basically seeing the need. You know what? As a child, I struggled with confidence. I struggled with having to speak in front of a large audience. And, I remember having to do school projects and you have to in front of the classroom. To me, that was terrifying. So I thought, why not help our kids as they're when they're younger, so that way they can build on the confidence. So that way, by the time they get to grade 8, they're that confident young women or young boy that they are, and they can achieve anything that they want. It was basically to empower kids and to get them over their fears, whether it's public speaking, confidence building, or just allowing them to be involved in something and being proud of. And something with our pageants too is that every participant, every delegate actually gets a crown. So each person gets a crown. So some people are like, well, what's the point? It defeats the purpose of having a competition. Yes, I agree. But at the end of the day, the type of pageant that I want to build is something they're proud. At the end of the day, they can go home and say, wow, look what I got. And I'm so proud of myself. I was able to sing. And I remember I had a girl that was able to sing and she overcame her fears. It was amazing. I was practically in tears because I was so proud of her. So it's just those, little baby steps, which eventually become large advancements in the future for them.
That's amazing. So can you tell us a little bit about Glass Slipper Princess Pageants and what is it about? What kind of pageant system is it? What divisions are there?
So I'm pretty much, since COVID took over, so we pretty much haven't been doing much. It's basically been our photo contest to keep GSP alive, but at the same time to encourage other girls and boys to have some fun still. Even for the moms, they look forward to it. But my whole drive was to empower our youth, get them involved, and to help them build on their skills for their future. What I do anticipate is it's not all about a beauty pageant. Is based on beauty, because the first thing you hear, oh, I'm entering a pageant, a beauty pageant, everyone thinks of, oh my goodness, it's based on her facial. But I want to show the world that it's not only about facial beauty, but it's beyond, and what we can instill in our kids or in our youth to have them to be able to do things without having to think, oh, I have to be, I have to look like a cover model in order to be in that pageant. No, you don't. You just need to be yourself and be the best version of yourself. And I know for myself, being a mom, I have 4 kids, so my body has changed. I'm not the same, I'm the same person, but my body has changed. But that shouldn't allow me to stop just because I don't look the same way that I used to maybe 10 years ago or 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned girls and boys, so you're open to everyone for your pageant, correct?
Exactly. And it goes from babies. We've had 2 months old, and we've had up to 58, 60 years old. So there is no age. We want to empower everyone, have fun. And you know what? A little pageant that they joined that they thought, hey, I'm just going to try it. They end up being able to concentrate on what they need to improve, whether it's public speaking, community work, and then they can go on to bigger pageants, for example, like Galaxy or World's Perfect. So there's so many other pageants that they can continue afterwards as well.
I love that. Well, let's talk a little bit. Actually, before we do that,
Sure.
Where can they find more information on your pageant and your organization?
Sure. They can visit on Facebook. It's under Glass Slipper Princess Pageants. We have a page there with photos, and you can just take a peek, see if it's for you. And if you have any questions, you can always message me directly. And we're also under GSP Pageants on Instagram as well.
Perfect. So I will put the links in the description. So moving forward, Stephanie, to pageants in general. So you went from being a pageant director now back onto the pageant stage. So before you entered Galaxy, have you competed in other pageants before?
Yes, so I've competed in other pageants. My first pageant was when I was 19 years old. I was working with TLN Network, which is Telenatino Network, and I was actually scouted to be a delegate for Miss Italia nel Mondo. So I was able to compete. I am of Italian descent. So I was able to compete in the pageant based on that. And it was a wonderful experience. It was basically fashion wear, interview. I got to speak in Italian. It was just a great experience. But when I look back at it, I wasn't really prepared for that particular pageant, but I went with the experience. And that was the last of it. So then from the age of 19, I was able to go on. And I ended up working with a lot of in the film industry. So I did a lot of extra work for some backgrounds and did some fashion shows. And then from there, I took a break. I had my children. I have 4 of them, as I mentioned. And then I came across one of my friends, Catherine, and we started talking. And she's like, I was Miss Brampton when I was, in her 20s, I guess she had mentioned. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. And then it brought back memories of when I competed when I was 19. And I thought, you know what? I should really give it a try. I feel like I've matured. I've experienced challenges in my life that, you know what? I'm going to try it. So sure enough, I ended up joining the Flower City Brampton pageant in 2013. Unfortunately, I did, but I left with a smile on my face because that was something that I never thought I would do again. Fast forward a year later, I tried again and actually won. So I was Miss Elite Brampton. So I am a resident, sorry, I am a
Oh.
resident of Brampton. And
Mhm.
so I was able to, for a year, I was able to reign in my community. It was amazing. And then from there, I've competed with Canada's Perfect here. So I've won back-to-back years as Ontario's Perfect Woman. I was
Wow.
able to go to Florida and I was top 11. And then I came back and actually I met Cindy Withams from Canada Galaxy. And she's like, we started talking and she mentioned she held a pageant. And it reminded me so much of the one that I did for Miss Italia. And I thought, wow, I don't know if I can do it. And, you know, I'm thinking, I don't have the body, especially when I heard swimsuit. I thought, ooh, now I'm really getting challenged. But long story short, I had a month and a half to practice and I did it. I was able to go on stage with my swimsuit. I did the best that I can and I was proud of myself. And it was great. I ended up with second runner up. So that kind of fueled my fire in 2019. So I had registered right away. I think I messaged Cindy right after and said to her, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready to sign up. And sure enough, here I am 2 years later. And I'm hoping to compete again in August, which I am. Hopefully we'll be able to. And we'll go from there.
I love that story. I love that you were able to take us on this journey with you and, you know, showing us that doesn't matter what part of life you're in, you can still step on stage, still do swimwear after 4 kids and look amazing and rock it on stage and make it to the top 5. You were very inspiring. I remember we were both on Team Toronto together and just seeing you do your appearances, do your work, be on stage. It was so great to see. And to see that you're still in Team Toronto. I miss wearing the Toronto sash across my chest, but I know that we have so many great representatives this year.
Yes, we do.
So what has it been like for you? You know, you've done Galaxy now for 1 year. And now you're coming back, but you're now preparing during a pandemic. What has that been like for you?
It's been challenging, but I figure I was able to have more one-on-one connections with individuals, with communities, and it really made me, you know, really made me focus on myself during this pandemic and really mentally and physically prepare myself for Galaxy. And, you know, just doing the appearances, it is difficult because it's not the same. It's not like you can go out there and do anything you want. You really have to be selective. So I chose a few appearances that were really important to me and that I'm a strong believer in literacy. Literacy in children is very important. I focused a lot on the Canadian Book Bank and I've almost reached my target of 1,000 books that I donated to them.
Wow.
So I'm really proud of myself on that aspect. Literacy is very important, like I mentioned. And as well as working with Mount Sinai Hospital as well, and being able to volunteer for women with pregnancy loss. So I've been able to do some donations in that regards. And I've just been doing the best that I can. I've been trying to collect milk bags to do for out in the Caribbean islands, to do the mats. So I'm really focusing on different things. I was able to gather school supplies for children in Nunavut at one of the schools.
Wow.
So there were a lot of things that I did, but what I did this year that was different than previous years is I did work within my community, but I also branched out outside of my province as well and because I figure you want to make an impact in everyone's life. And I shouldn't be just selective in one area. Try to make a difference in more than one aspect of just Toronto, for example.
That's amazing. So it looks like you've been able to do so much more with your title, and I think that's great. And it's so interesting that you're saying all the things that you're doing, and I'm like, wow, she's doing all this, plus working, plus being a mom of 4 in a pandemic.
Yeah.
What has it been like, you know, at home with your kids?
It's been crazy because, to be honest, my kids have been doing online learning since March of 2020. So they have not been in school for the past 14 months. I've been basically their teacher as well. It's been hard, but, you know, at the same time, it's rewarding because when am I be able to do this again? Once
Mhm.
COVID is gone and this pandemic is over, at least I've made that connection with my kids a little bit more. Our lives were very hectic prior to
Yep.
to the pandemic. So it's been nice to me, we've settled down. We were so involved with hockey, dance, gymnastics that it is busy at home because of school. But once 3 o'clock rolls around, 3:30, it's party time at our house.
I love that. And so you mentioned all the different activities that your children do, but do any of your kids get involved in pageantry as well?
Yes, actually. So I do have three boys and a daughter, and my daughter's
Hmm.
9 years old, and she's entered the Galaxy World as a preteen, so
Love that.
preteen Brampton, and we're super excited. She loves pageants, and she's been working with Angel as well, and she completely loves the pageant world. And I keep telling her this is a different type of pageant, and she's committed, and she's looking forward to her outfits actually.
Ooh, so do you find that as a mother-daughter duo, do you find maybe on pageant day you'll be more focused on her, or is it going to be like, girl, you're on your own?
Oh, no, no. You know what? She's my number one priority. And I said, that day I'm very protective of my children. And I just want
Mhm.
to make sure that, she does the best that she can. And I'll be backstage as well. And I'll be rooting for her, making sure that everything is pristine before those heels hit that stage.
I love that. Well, I think it's great that you and your daughter are able to do this together, especially during this pandemic. You said it earlier, you were able to get closer to your children. You guys were able to slow down, bond as a family, and now you and your daughter have this even extra special bond because you're doing this pageant together. What would
Exactly.
you say to all of those moms who are watching today who have a daughter who already competes and was curious to want to compete in a pageant?
They should compete because it's a wonderful experience. And honestly, when can you get that opportunity to do it? I mean, now's the perfect time. If you're free, why not? You've got nothing to lose at the end of the day. And just imagine your daughter is going to remember this for the rest of her life. And it'll be something that the two of you are going to cherish forever.
I love that. I've been trying to convince my mom for years, but it's
Yeah,
never happened.
you have to try to get her to.
She won't. She'll get as far as doing makeup, and then she'll be like, "You guys are on your own."
Aw, she's perfect. She's a great supporter, big number one fan of yours, I know.
She is. She is. Hi, Mom. I know you're watching. So I have a question from Instagram. It's actually
Sure.
from Alexis, Ms. Galaxy Surrey. Her
Yes.
question is, what is it like between being a pageant competitor versus director?
It's great. Being a competitor, being a director is fantastic. But once you're a competitor as well, you're able to relate to your contestants, how they're feeling, that you being in the them being you sorry being in
No
their
worries.
shoes,
Hmm.
experiencing the nerves, and just being able to say the right things to the contestants to calm their nerves, their fears, and just to show empathy and just encourage them. Because I know being a contestant, it's hard. You're nervous no matter what anybody says. You are nervous. Even when you're on that stage doing your walk, there's nerves
Hmm.
under there. And just being a director, I know what they're going through. And at the end of the day, as a director, you just have to always encourage your contestants that even if the contestant thinks she's done a horrible job, nobody's going to know but the contestant.
Hmm. It's true. And another question from Instagram is there are a lot of pageants in Toronto, or I guess within the GTA. Do you find that they become more of your competition?
Nope, not at all. I highly recommend any contestant that attends GSP to try other other pageants, because at the end of the day, each one is different and each one has a special thing that they do, and we're all the same. We need to bring more pageants into Canada, into Ontario. And I should not see another director as a competitor, but as a team player. We need to work together so both of our businesses are successful.
It's true. I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that. There are a lot, but I think maybe I think there's a lot because that's what my Facebook page is bombarded with right now. But you're right, there's not a lot because I remember growing up, to be completely honest, I, of course, being Filipino Canadian, my main thing was Filipino Canadian pageants, not realizing that there's so many more out there outside of this niche. And I do wish that I was able to have had that experience and grow and do different types. Like there's yours, there's Sweet Darling Divas,
Yeah.
there's the All Canadian Pageant. There's so many different ones, and you don't realize it until you kind of step out of your own bubble.
And it's, you know what, it's nice to try different ones. I don't think you need to be, what's the word I'm looking for, just sticking to one. Why not try them all? A person that's a good director will allow other girls, hey, try out this, try out that one, because that's the only way that then they can decide for themselves which one they prefer to. There might be one that maybe they found a little bit more difficult or hard. Maybe they preferred another pageant where it was more not as stressful, or perhaps, maybe the expectations are a little bit different per pageant system. And also based on skills. Like I find with GSP, I got a lot of new girls or new boys that come, and you know what? It's try it out. Once you like what you see, you can go on and you try on other pageant systems. But I think the most important thing is if you're going to try other pageant systems, always make sure you know what that pageant expects of their contestants, so that way you can be successful when you hit their stage as well.
That's very true. I love that. And one last question before we go on to our next segment.
Sure.
What made you, or I guess what inspired you to enter Canada Galaxy?
I met Cindy in Florida in 2019, and she encouraged me, and there were a lot of messages going back and forth, but she was such a sweetheart. And she really, I didn't know what to expect, but she told me everything that I needed to know. And then I just pretty much hunkered down and tried it out. At the end of the day, win or lose, it's not about the crown. It's learning about who you are and what you need to improve as an individual. That's my take on pageantry.
I love that. And so with your take on pageantry comes to our next segment. That's a great segue. Thank you, Stephanie. So on the show, we have a segment called 5 Tips from a Beauty Queen. So I'm really interested to know, as a pageant director and a pageant or a beauty queen yourself, what would be your 5 tips for all of those who are watching us today?
Okay, so my 5 tips would be: wear comfortable shoes. Make sure you pack those flip-flops, because you cannot walk in 5-inch heels all day. I don't know about you, but I get blisters very easily. So number 1, bring extra shoes. I would work with flip-flops, something flat that you're comfortable. Make sure that you bring snacks. So whether it's, make sure you have some bottled waters, some fruits, some vegetables. You want to keep hydrated, but you also want to make sure that your sugar levels are up. And either it's a protein bar, granola, just pack yourself some healthy snacks, because sometimes throughout rehearsals, it does get busy, and you need to make sure that you're not becoming cranky because you're hungry, because you need to focus during rehearsal. So bring the food, absolutely. Number 3, a lot of times, a lot of pageants systems have hair and makeup being provided. Highly recommend bringing your favorite makeup, whether it's mascara, eyeliner, or eyeshadow, and your lipstick, with a curling iron and a straightener. Because if by chance you don't like what's been done, you can still adjust it yourself. You can tweak it a bit, right? And 4th, bring a journal. You want to experience the pageant. But once that pageant is over, you forget. But by having a journal, you can take notes of everything that you've experienced, the moments, your feelings, and then in a few months down the road, you can go back and reminisce about it. Last, but definitely not least, get a lot of rest. You're going to be stressed, so the night before, make sure you either read a book, whatever is your downtime, read a book, have a glass of wine, have a bubble bath, and just relax those nerves, because you're going to need lots of energy on pageant day. So those are my 5 tips.
I love that. I love how they're so different from the other ones that we've had on the show. Bring flip-flops. I didn't even think about that, but it's
Yes, it's
so
a must.
true. It is, especially when, even like after the pageant, when you don't want
Yeah.
to be in your heels anymore, just to walk around and get your stuff together. That's such a great tip. I didn't think of it. But
Because you
also,
know what? Even having wedges, your feet are going to
Mhm,
be sore. So you really, those feet, those toes, they want to stretch. So having a
mhm.
flat fitted shoe is perfect.
Very true. I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you gave us 5 tips for pageant hopefuls, but could you give us maybe 1 or 2 tips that you would give to pageant directors or people who are considering starting their own pageant?
Okay, so for pageant directors, my 2 tips would be figure out what kind of audience you want to attract, is the first thing. And do your homework. See what exactly you want. Like, do you just want a pageant system? I know a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm gonna start my own pageant, but then they don't realize it's not it's not cheap. It's very expensive. So you want to make sure that financially you crunch those numbers and you figure out how much crowns are, sashes, gifts, whatever it is that you need. And for directors, I personally would say make sure that contestants know exactly what they need to know. So you want information up front. You want to make sure that they're aware. So if they're paying $200, they want to make sure that, hey, this for $200, this is what I get. And secondly, transparency. So that way contestants know what exactly will be happening throughout pageant day, the rain for the winners, etc.
Awesome. So you gave us some amazing tips as a beauty queen and as a director.
Thank
There's
you.
no doubt and there's no uncertainty to why you are great at both titles that you carry. And I know that you've been doing this for a very long time. Well, not a very long time, for a long time. And
Yes.
so I just think that it's great. You do showcase and literally walk the walk, talk the talk, whatever you want to say it is, to what your life's missions are. And I think that's
Oh,
amazing.
you're so sweet. Thank you.
No, really, I think it's amazing that you said it yourself. You had your children, you were you knew who you were when you came back into pageantry. And I think that's something that is really important for people to hear, because I always tell people it's better to be the best version of yourself when you're on stage than questioning who you are. And so I think that it's great that you were able to realize that, look, I am a better version of myself. I know who Stephanie is, and here I am. Love it or hate it.
Exactly. And you know what? A lot of times it's so sad, but the media portrays how you should look like. And then that's where a lot of, married women or moms are kind of like, I can't do that. I have kids. I've
Mhm.
changed. I can never go in heels. But you know what? Once you start, if you constantly say that to yourself, you begin to believe that. So you need to break down those barriers and start saying positive affirmations to yourself, because everybody is worthy. We've seen all different kind of beauty queens, and you got to believe in yourself, because
Mhm.
you only get one chance at this in life in general. And why put things on hold when just live in the moment, moms?
Exactly. And you said earlier you and your husband were high school sweethearts.
Yes.
So I guess he's been there through the entire journey of when you did your first pageant to starting your first pageant. What has it been like for him to be a pageant husband?
You know what? I'll be honest. In the beginning, he came to my first pageant that I did when I was 19, and he actually got a connection for me with Flair magazine back then. Yeah, he was my little scout. But
Look at that.
but after, to be honest, he supports me whatever I want. He never says no to me, and he's my best friend. And he knows the struggles, and now that we have my daughter into it, he's supportive. He never says no to me. He Whatever we have to do an appearance, he's fine with it. Like, he does not complain, honestly.
I love
He
that.
does not.
I love how he's scouting for you. That's
It
amazing. And
was so
it's true
funny.
because Because you have done a lot that I didn't know that you used to do. I didn't know that
I
you
used
were
to.
an actress. Oh
I
my
do.
goodness.
I did. I was in the movie Billy Madison with Adam Sandler.
No
So
way.
yeah, we've done that. I've done fashion shows. I've done for L'Oreal. We've also done, oh my goodness, I've done Madonna lookalikes. My daughter and I actually just back in March appeared in, it's a new series coming out with Disney. It's called Why? The Last Man. So we'll be in that, but I don't know when it's coming out, but it's something that we decided to do together. We had to go for 3 COVID tests and one before we left being on site, but it was amazing. And it's something that her and I will look back and say, hey, we did it during a pandemic. Can you believe that?
That's amazing. Your daughter's literally your mini me,
That's
doing
what
all the fashion
everyone.
shows, doing the movies. But what about your sons? Because I figured, you have a boy division. Have they ever stepped on stage as well?
No, see, with my kids, competing in
Hmm.
my pageant is always a no because it's a conflict of interest, just because I'm
True.
running it. But my boys are heavily involved in hockey, basketball, and soccer. So my little one is showing an interest, but I'm not sure if it's because he sees Alicia and I practicing our walk. But it was so
Yeah.
funny because the other night he's like, look, Mom, and he takes off his t-shirt and he's walking down pretending it's a runway. And I'm thinking, Joseph, what are you doing? He goes, I want to do a pageant. I'm thinking, oh
Oh,
boy, what have we got you into? But I'm not sure if
well,
he was kidding or what. So we'll see, I guess.
well, you should tell him if you really want to. I'll call Lindsay or I'll call somebody and get you on their stage because there
Exactly.
are a lot of boy pageants. I love
There is.
that. That's so sweet. I love that. So I do have I have a few questions from
Sure.
Instagram. I love when people submit questions. We did talk a little bit about this earlier, but what is your pageant platform?
My pageant platform. Okay, so my pageant platform is very personal to me, and it's something that a lot of people don't discuss. But I feel that in order to get over things, we need to speak up about stuff. And
Hmm.
for me, it was back in 2007 in July. I had a pregnancy loss, so I had to deliver a stillborn at 5 months. And
Oh,
health wise, there were health reasons why, but it was through that experience. But I had such amazing support that I was over to overcome a lot of things that come with a loss like that, especially when it's unexpectedly. But long story short, my platform is basically pregnancy, infant and pregnancy loss. So it's women that have gone through a loss in their pregnancy, and it's just being able for them to speak about it, talk about it, showing support for one another and helping to raise funds. We're working on having some items sent to moms after a loss, but because of COVID, I haven't been able to get into the hospital yet, but
yeah.
I'm working on it. But I was working with Mount Sinai. But so that's my platform, is pregnancy loss. And it's something very close to my heart, and it's something that I really think more women go through this, but because it's
Mhm.
not talked about a lot, you never hear about it.
Well, first off, thank you for being so candid and honest and
Thank you.
vulnerable with us and sharing your story. Again, it's something I never knew about you, and I'm sure a lot of people never knew.
No, it's
But I think you're right. It's something that people don't talk often about, but it's something that should be spoken about.
exactly.
Um, I would absolutely love to help you with your fundraising on that one. I would love to collaborate with you on that. I think it's it's something that we see nowadays, I find, on social media, but it's still so pushed to the back. Like
Exactly. It's like you're not,
they talk about other.
yeah, it's like you're not allowed to talk about that because,
Mhm.
you know, and it's so hard because, to be honest, with me being able to share my story, with me being able to have the proper support, I was able to overcome that because I could have taken a situation that was very negative and, not for anything. I could have ruined my life as well. I could have dealt with other things, but I turned it into a positive, and I'm working and hoping that other women can see that, the more we talk about it, the more we're at peace with what has happened.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
Okay. And I do know that there is a higher chance of women having a miscarriage in their lifetime, and not people don't realize it. People don't talk about it. People don't put a spotlight to it. But I think what you're doing is great, and we should all work together in making this happen and being able to go to Mount Sinai or even other hospitals, because it's happening all over the world.
Exactly. And also to just raise awareness that this is, why should a woman why should someone go through this alone and be silenced? I mean, it's horrible. I mean, and a lot of times I've experienced too, where people, when it happened to me, people never really, some of my friends didn't even call me because they didn't know what to say to me after the loss. And it's something that you just struggle as an individual during the time, but with proper support, you're able to overcome it. And, I have 2 additional kids after that incident, and, I'm just thankful. And I think this is why I surround my career. A lot of the work that I do is based on children, because I know how it feels from a loss to great happiness, what children can bring to people. And then you see a lot of women that are trying to have children, and unfortunately sometimes it just never happens. And you have to also be, you have to show empathy for that too.
It's so crazy how things like this are not talked about often,
Exactly.
but they should be, because it's just something that happens to almost everyone. And like you said, your friends didn't even know how to handle it or talk to you about it. So hopefully we're breaking barriers one brick at a time and bringing awareness to these causes that are so close to your heart.
Thank you.
No worries. Another question from Instagram is, what do you have in mind for fashion wear? Because your outfits at the last Galaxy Canada were amazing.
Oh, you know what? It's so funny because I only had, nobody should say that they didn't have enough time, because girls, we've had 14 months to prepare. I only had 6 weeks. Let me repeat that. I had 6 weeks to get my outfits. Wow. So let's just say my theory is to stand out. So I'll just leave it at that.
Love that. And so when you are looking for your outfits, do you have like a particular, like, I personally go on Pinterest and I go through image after image after image, or do you already know what style you want, what colors you want, and then do you either buy them off the rack, or do you have someone make them for you?
Well, it's been funny because in the past, like the last Galaxy, like I said, the last time I competed, I had only 6 weeks. I kind of went with what I had, but moving forward to this time around, I've kindly put a lot more effort, and I've been more pickier, because I need to make sure that I'm happy at the end of the day, win or lose, as long as I was able to wear what I wanted and I'm able to be happy with what I had, I think is great. And for my outfits, some are, I don't know if I probably have maybe one that's only over the rack.
Oh, wow.
Everything is pretty much custom. So yeah, this time around, I wanted to make sure I was if I'm going to do a pageant, guys, if you're going to do a pageant, you don't want to be half in. You want to be fully in.
I love that. That's so exciting. You're right. Everyone who has signed up for the 2020 pageant got an additional couple of months. So I'm so excited to see what everyone wears.
I know.
It's just so exciting.
It's like the Oscars. Like, it's going to be, wow, look what she's wearing. Oh my God, she looks amazing. And it's, you know what? You want to support everyone. And if someone looks great, let them know. I mean, it's not a competition. I mean, a true beauty queen will compliment others. Will is not afraid of other contestants either. You want to be supportive to one another, and you know, everyone wants to win. Come on. I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't want to, but you also want to be supportive at the same time, and it's for the experience. And hey, if you don't win that crown, what can you do to better yourself?
Exactly.
Right? I'm sure even yourself, Regine, I'm sure anytime you've done a pageant, you know exactly, okay, I could have done this better or that better. Like I'm always like that. I'm my worst critic at the end of the day.
Oh, you should have seen me backstage at Galaxy Canada. I have this thing, I don't know why, and I have to stop doing it. I would go to my phone and text my mom right away, be like, what did you think? And of course, my mom knowing me the best, she'll be like, you should have smiled more. You should have done this more. And I'm like, oh my God, I lost the pageant. And so then when I won, she was like, oh. I'm like, I'm never asking you again. I'm leaving my phone somewhere.
Beautiful. I mean, you really went out and you went there for that crown. Like, you knew exactly what you needed to do. And you know what? You're an encouragement to other women as well.
Thank you. You know, it's similar to the situation that you're in, you know. It's one of the questions that I saw on Instagram is, you've done Galaxy already for one time, and now you're coming back for a second time. Were you able to really figure out, what did I do wrong the first time, like you were just saying, and try to improve what you can do for the second time?
100%. I mean, like I said, I had 6 weeks and I did the best that I can.
And you're a second runner-up.
It was good, but this time around, there's a lot of fierce competition as well. But at the end of the day, I mean, you want to make sure you're prepared. You want to make sure your outfits are the best that you can possibly, you know, what you look amazing in. You know, maybe perfect your walk, your interview. I mean, there's so many. There is never the perfect beauty queen, because no matter how many pageants you do, there's always something that we can improve in, whether it's a pose, whether it's just little habits that we all have, right? And I contemplated sometimes, you know, coming back to Galaxy, for example, whether I'm making the right choice, because, you know, I'm thinking, oh, I don't want people to think, oh my God, she's coming back again. Like, what for? She didn't win. But I'm like, no, I have something to prove to myself. And like I said, like what I said to Cindy, I said, I'm not going to stop until that crown is on my head.
No, I feel you.
Right?
I was like that too. I was first runner-up in 2019, and I was like, you know what, first runner-up, that's great. This is such a great place to be, but I really want the crown. And I was in the same situation as you, where I grabbed my phone right away. Cindy signed me up for next year, because I wasn't done. And the Galaxy crown is so beautiful. It stands for something. I know people are probably like, oh, this is a Galaxy talk, but like, let's be real. We're two Galaxy girls at this in this conversation. But it was just, the organization is so much more than what people see it as, and that's why I was so consumed in Galaxy. And I will now, going into internationals in 2022, it'll be my 5th year with Galaxy. So if I've been with Galaxy for this long, it speaks volumes.
And you know what? You can look, like, going back just to Galaxy in general, you can, women that compete, we're all different in sizes. We all look different. We all bring something to the table that's different. And I think, and the fact that Galaxy is very accepting of that. It's not like they have a particular queen that they're looking for. It's an overall, basically, it's knowing Galaxy, what type of pageant system it is, and informing yourself and just being knowledgeable of what type of system it is. And you can see they've had past winners, you know, that, you know, curvaceous beauty right there. And I mean, it doesn't hurt. You don't have to, you know, we all have curves no matter what. Some people are like, I don't have it, but we all have the hips. And you know what? It's working with what God gave us, basically.
Exactly. I love that. Melissa Gregory says, I am looking forward to watching all of the lovely ladies compete at Galaxy this August. Well, Melissa, we were hoping that one day you'll join Galaxy. I know her sister is in the Ms. division, so can't wait to see you in the audience and hopefully one day on stage. I actually love that. Curvaceous beauty. I love that. And I wish it was
Like, I'm going to be honest, like when I was 19, I didn't have any curves to my body whatsoever. So it was basically, it was simple, right? I can fit into anything and not have to complain. And then as you get older, you're like, oh my goodness, I can't wear that anymore. I just don't like, I see this. I don't like this. I don't like how this thing looks like. And I'm thinking, you know what? We just have to accept what we have and work with it.
Yeah.
My thing, I always say this. Pamela Anderson, I mean, she wasn't thin, like she was curvy, but her body was amazing still. So it doesn't matter if you've got those curves, ladies. Don't stop your vision. You can still do beauty pageants. And Regine, you know exactly, because you know exactly how many girls we've seen them all the time. We've seen them at Galaxy. I mean, beautiful women, and it's just believe in yourself and stop looking at the media.
Yes. Don't compare yourself to other people as well,
That's the
because
worst thing. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I do that sometimes, and it's the worst thing you can do for yourself. But then again, we're also human, right? And it's just human nature.
yeah. I think the worst thing I've ever done, I know I'm talking a lot. The worst thing I think I've ever done is compare myself to old pictures of myself. Because
Yeah.
I'm not the 20-year-old girl who's competing in pageants anymore. I am now 30. My body is not going to be like that. So no matter, and I had an eating disorder. So let's not compare myself to that person, because it's a
Exactly.
whole other person. So that kind of touches base with what I was going to ask you. So you competed when you were 19, and then you came back to pageants, and you are now a mom of 4.
Yes.
What was that like for you to, first off, tell your family, I'm competing in a pageant, but then for you to physically, mentally prepare yourself to do this again?
You know, I was pregnant with one of my kids, and I remember looking at a pageant. It was in Quebec. Now I don't know if it was Galaxy. I haven't gone.
Was
I
it
don't
Miss
know if
Earth?
Galaxy. I don't know. There was one pageant that I was pregnant with, maybe my second, and I
Oh,
thought,
maybe.
wow, I would love to do a pageant again. And I remember thinking to myself, "There's no way. I'm pregnant. There's no way. How am I going to get back into shape?" And but then I'm thinking, you know what? I had the support after having the kids. And like I said, my mom is my number one supporter. And I think she sees my crazy times, and she's always, if you want to do it, go ahead. And, you know, you're always going to have somebody saying, oh, why is she doing that?
Mm.
I'm sure some people think I'm just nuts that have never experienced the pageant life,
Mm.
but it's something that I'm passionate about. And as long as my husband, my parents, and my kids support me, I think that's what matters to me in the end.
Hmm.
And to prepare myself, I pretty much I take some me time, and I know when I need to focus. And but I'm also very, I can multitask quite a bit, and I can get myself from being a mom and then getting into pageant mode an hour later. Like
Like
it's just
today.
weird. Yeah, like I had my kids yelling earlier, and then I'm down here and I'm thinking, and I'm good, right? I'm not a problem.
I love that. No, but it's great that you were able to balance, because I know that there are some women that, like some of my friends who I'll speak to, they're now all married, having children, and they'll look at me being like, "You sure you're gonna compete again? Are you sure you're getting married? Are you sure you're still competing?" And I'm like, as long, I don't want to say this too loud because my fiance might hear me, but as long as there's a pageant for me, I will do it.
You know what? And I agree with you 100%. You know, I think about it. I'm 42. So yeah, I'm 42 years old, and sometimes I'm thinking, what am I doing? Why am I still doing pageants? But then I'm thinking, you know what? I love it, and I think there's a purpose for me still, and
Mhm.
I haven't achieved it yet, and I'm sure when I do, I'll know it.
Mhm. And I think, being a mom, having your incredible marriage, having all your experiences, other women look up to you and be like, wow, if Stephanie can do it, if Stephanie can run her own pageant, run her family, and compete in a pageant, I want to do that too. Because I could tell you, I want to be a mom of 4 and still doing pageants. So I'll call you up, be like, Stephanie, what was
Oh,
that secret juice that you did? Like, tell me.
honestly, you know what? I think if there's passion, you're honestly, Regine, even after having kids, you're still going to do pageants. It's just, I mean, you can't teach somebody passion. There's no way. If it's in you, It's in you, and it's in your blood, and you're going to run with it no matter what. You're going to find a way to do pageants.
Okay, so if that's the case, Stephanie, I know you told Cindy, you're going to keep doing Galaxy until you win the crown. Is there any, and I love asking people this question,
Sure.
if it wasn't for Galaxy, what would be your dream pageant to compete in? Because there's a lot of Mrs. pageants now. What would be your dream title to have?
My dream title to have would probably be, honestly, Mrs. Universe.
Ooh.
But that's a dream, and that's a dream for a reason. I don't think personally I would be ready for something like that, and it's just something that personally I don't feel. But along from that, this is not. I mean, hey, if I were to win a Galaxy title and win national, well, you better believe that international would definitely be. But outside of Galaxy would be my Miss Universe. 100%.
I love that. No, I just love asking people that because sometimes, I mean, if you take Elizabeth Marnock, for instance, I asked her what is her dream title. She gave me her dream title. A few months later, she announced that was her new title. So anything is possible. Anything is possible. And I tell people that all the time. Once you put it out there to the galaxy, I mean, anything is possible, really.
Exactly. And you know what? Hard work pays off. So no matter what you're doing now, you don't know 3 years from now what the future holds, right?
I mean, 3 years ago, look at where we were compared to where we are now.
Listen, I would never have thought that I would be doing Galaxy in 2019 in a swimsuit competition. I would have said maybe 3 years prior to that, I would have laughed and said, "Are you crazy?" But I did it, and you know what? I'm proud of myself, and
and you killed it.
Am I nervous? Am I nervous for the one coming in August? Yes. We were in a pandemic, and I'm thinking, now I got to put myself in a swimsuit. So let me tell you, my husband was a sweetie. He bought me a new treadmill. So I've been keeping at it right now, and I have a trainer. So I've been working hard, but I'm Italian, and I love my food. So.
Oh, your Instagram. Like when you sent me those recipes for I think it was the Oreo cheesecake cookies.
Oh, my son.
Game changer. I need a treadmill now, thanks to you. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I love baking. That's what calms me down when I need to, I just need something to go to. That's it. It's just my baking. And I don't eat it all, just so everybody knows. I have 4 men in the house, so they like to eat.
There you go. Well, Stephanie, this hour flew by really fast. Clearly, we're having a great time, and I hope those who are watching are enjoying this episode as well and this conversation. If you're out on your patio because it's beautiful, don't forget the SPF because the sun is hot today.
Yes.
Stephanie, before we wrap things up, is there any last minute thing that you'd like to talk about or share with our audience today?
You know what? I just want to let everybody know that take some chances in life. And even if it's not pageants, honestly, take the risk. If you don't take that risk, you'll never know if that was an opportunity for you. And sometimes you think it's, you don't have the confidence to do it. But listen, if I can do it, Regine can do it, so can you.
I love that. And to all of Team Toronto, I miss wearing that sash. I know that you were all doing some certain projects that are coming along the way. I talked to Leticia a few weeks ago. She was saying that there's stuff in the works. I cannot wait to see what comes out of Team Toronto this year. I can't wait to see you rocking your swimwear. I mean, I think you wore blue last year. That was killer. Blue is beautiful on you, first off. Pink is beautiful on you. So I'm really excited to see what comes your way for Galaxy. So Stephanie, if people wanted to find more about who you are and your journey to Galaxy, or again to your pageant, where can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook, so under Stephanie Haidenschuster, or they can go on Instagram, StephOfficial1, and you can always send me a message directly.
Amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, all the links will be in the description after the show. So make sure you follow her after today. Again, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon. I know you went from mommy mode, teacher mode, to now pageant mode. So thank you so much for spending the afternoon with us and just sitting down and chatting. I know there are a few of you here who are watching, so thank you to all of you who tuned in. Again, if you're outside, don't forget the SPF, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. We do go typically live on Mondays and Wednesdays for the pageant sit downs, so if you are interested in anything pageantry or just want to hear some girl talk, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Again, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us today. I now want Oreo cheesecake cookies, so I think that's what I'm going to make tonight. And I hope that you continue to do amazing things from now until October.
Thank you so much.
October? Sorry, August.
Thank you for having me, and thanks to everyone for listening.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, and I'll see you all on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye.